All right, we are live. Test. Looks like we got about 12 people in the chat to start off. Everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Can you not see anything around me? As far as you guys know, I could be anywhere in the world right now. Because you can't see anything but me. All right, Brian Olson, welcome. Footed Silver, welcome. Okay. So we haven't done this in a while, and I thought it would be fun to go ahead and do another call-in show because we're midway through the preseason now. I'm actually watching the Patriots beat the dog out of the Eagles right now. Sean Ebb, welcome. So I thought it'd be a good time for a call-in stream so people can say what they want to say to me about where this team is, where we're headed, what needs to happen next, what needs to not happen next. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to post a link into the chat in just a moment here. And you can use that link to call into the show. DA, welcome. Ayush, welcome. Pigeon, welcome. All right, so before we open up to callers, and by the way, you can also actually use the link in the description. There should be a link in the description that will allow you to enter the chat, the StreamYard chat. I am going to go ahead and throw up the news ticker. These are some recent significant occurrences with the Seahawks that you might want to talk about. Adams obviously signed his $70 million contract for 4 years, which in my view is a pretty reasonable contract. Going into preseason game number 2, the guys who are still injured and may not be ready for preseason game number 2 include, but are not limited to, Tyler Lockett, Ethan Posick, DJ Reed, and Marquise Blair. Rashad Penny, Robert Nkemdiche, Jamarco Jones, and Phil Haynes, on the other hand, are on track to play. Dwayne Eskridge is finally practicing after his turf toe issue. He's on track to be ready for the opener, although he's not very likely to play in any preseason games, which may set him back some. And Colby Parkinson does not need surgery and may be ready for the opener despite the broken foot. So that's a quick rundown of some of the stuff that's interesting right now. All right. Sharon McKee, welcome. Thank you, Matt Ruff. Hello, DA. Hello, Matt Ruff. Hello, Austin Roberts. Welcome, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat. I'm going to pin it. And now you can use that link to call in while we're trying to get people to show up. Basically, just to run it down real quick, the way we do things around here, I usually let about 2 people at a time come on. So me plus 2 others. If it goes any more than that, I think things can get a little hectic. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on our first caller of the day. I know who this is. He's been on the show plenty before. This is Seahawks Jose Rodriguez. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Brent. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem, man. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I feel better if I feel better if we had a veteran wide receiver and a better backup quarterback besides, But besides that,
I'm wondering about this Alex Magoo guy. He might be something. I don't know. I kind of like him.
I thought Austin Davis was gonna be our backup a couple years ago, but they went with Gino, and I still don't get why. But
isn't he a coach now, Austin Davis?
Yeah, he's He's the QB coach.
Right. Okay, I remember Austin Davis. So, we played one preseason game. We've got another game coming up in 2 days here. What are you looking for against the Broncos, my man? What do you think?
I'm looking for him and Kimdichi to hopefully play and hopefully earn a roster spot. That way we can cut LJ Collier, who is just a all-around bust. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Out of these two first rounders, who's more likely to get cut or traded before the season? Collier or Penny?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Penny because I think we like the way he might fit in the new scheme. And it's not like we have a ton of running backs in front of him that are clearly better. Like, I think Alex Collins will probably make the roster, but who would make the roster that's not Penny, who's a running back? Is it going to be Connor Weddington? I don't think so. Yeah, DJ might make the roster as well, but you still might be able to fit both of them on. So I don't think it'll be Penny. I didn't think Collier could get cut, but I will say I've heard not good things about him at camp. So it's becoming a possibility.
We've heard the same thing.
Yeah, but I don't think either will get cut personally. I think especially with Collier, I don't think you save very much money if you cut him.
Yeah, but if you need a veteran cornerback, wide receiver, lineman, something like that, you trim the fat with Collier and grab a veteran.
It's possible. I think the Alden Smith thing kind of maybe bailed somebody out. I don't know who, but it might have bailed out Collier. It might have bailed out
BBK.
Maybe BBK as well. Yeah, that's a valid point. But if Collier can do something these last two preseason games, I have to believe he's going to get one of those spots just because it's the same regime and those guys want to prove them. And the regime is hesitant to admit when they've made a mistake sometimes. If we had new coaches or a new GM, it would be easier for me to say, yeah, we're probably going to let go of this first round pick after 2 years. But I don't think it's going to happen yet.
You worried about the tight end depth at all?
No.
I am.
I don't get the sense that Everett's injured. I think we're just not playing him because he's a veteran.
I'm more worried about Disley.
Yeah, that's fair.
Stay healthy.
Yeah, that's very valid. Luckily, it seems like we caught a big break with Parkinson being ready for game number for the opener or week 2 or week 3.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Apparently, they're saying that he doesn't need surgery and could be ready for week 1.
I take that back then.
Mm-hmm. Now, if Parkinson can't go and Disley can't go, then yeah, you've got a bit of a problem. There's not a whole lot going on there. But most teams don't have more than a few quality tight ends, so it's not something that I'm necessarily really worried about. All right, I'm going to bring on another guy here. This is we know who this is. This is Sam. Sam, welcome to the.
Hey, Brendan, how you doing, man?
Hey, Sam Dog.
I'm doing pretty well, man. So we've got a couple days until this second preseason game. What are you looking for, man?
I'm hoping for some improvement in the secondary because that's been my biggest concern so far with this preseason was with the amount of passes Witherspoon and Trey Flowers let get by them in the preseason game. So that's still one of my biggest concerns, secondary.
Yeah. The thing that kind of discouraged me was the cornerback who seemed to play the best in that preseason game was Gavin Heslop, and I don't think Gavin Heslop will make the roster. Although maybe he will now. I don't know. I thought he played pretty well. But yeah, there was a little bit of that going on.
Yep.
I really want to see Kemdichi. He's the guy who I keep hearing all this great stuff about, and if I don't see it in a couple of snaps in the preseason at least, I'm going to, I'm going to wonder, like, where did this come from? Like, you guys kept saying this guy was so great.
Yeah, I want to see that
Go.
too. I've been anxious to see what he could do in this preseason coming up this Saturday. I mean, I will be in the stadium too. I want to see him, and I want to see a little bit more of Darrell Taylor, because I saw Darrell Taylor was getting some good pressures along with Alton Robinson. I was really impressed with Robinson, but we expected that to come too. But I want to see our. I know we already talked about the cornerbacks. I want to see our cornerbacks do better than what they did last time with that crap show they put on last week. But DJ Dallas better be the third string running back. I want to get rid of Travis Homer personally. I don't think Travis Homer should be on the roster after this preseason because DJ's been killing it as a third string running back.
Well, he hasn't seen the field.
Yeah. I mean, remember, Homer's a good blocker. You got to give him that, and that's valuable. Yeah, I'll give him a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Sam, are you driving right now? I don't want this video to get used as evidence in like,
No. I'm parked. I just turned my car on. I'm at the roadhouse right now. I just parked my car and plugged my phone in the charge so I could come in on here for a bit while I'm waiting on my hopefully my raffle number to get called to try to win a free gift certificate for the roadhouse for money off of my tab.
All right, no problem.
All right.
Okay. I just don't want this video to get used in a court case.
It won't. You're good.
Okay. But all right. So actually, I want to highlight one comment in the chat real quick. Mass Temple, one of my favorite Discorders, hashtag bring in Walker or T.O. Now, I'm not the T.O. thing is kind of a meme, and I appreciate memes, but when he says Walker, he's talking about Delanie Walker, the tight end.
Delaney Walker, yep.
Yeah, Delaney Walker. If the tight end situation gets bad, that might be actually the first guy you take a look at. I kind of like that.
I'll tell you who I want. I personally want Trey Burton, the guy that threw the Philly special touchdown to Nick Foles. He's available.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
That's not terrible.
The guy can catch.
I mean, you wouldn't need him to catch that much. You would need him to play a few snaps. You might throw the ball his way, hopefully just a few times over the course of a month, and then by then, hopefully you get Parkinson back,
He put up some good numbers with Indianapolis last year, which is where he was recently with, and then he was with the Bears before that, and he seemed to still do productive over there, and we already know he was good with Philly, hence, it was crazy seeing him out there when he threw that Philly special in Super Bowl 52. I just thought, if he's still putting up numbers, why not give it a shot?
Well, he is a better blocker than Gerald Everett, so.
Yeah. I'll worry about the tight end thing after it actually becomes an issue, because Disley, for as much as he is a health risk, did stay healthy last year, and both of his injuries so far may have been flukes. They were kind of those massive ligament type things that you wouldn't expect to happen every week. It's not like he's somebody who has gotten dinged up 100 different times. He's had 2 major injuries, and other than that, he's kept pretty clean. So we'll see. And Parkinson, I am a little worried about because it's the same foot, but apparently he'll be ready for week 1. They're saying he'll be ready sooner rather than later. So I'll worry about the tight end thing after it becomes a problem. So, Jose, do you want to see any of the starters on offense this week? Because we didn't really see any last week. What do you think about that?
I want to see a couple, but not our quarterback. Not our quarterback.
Yeah. There was one year in the preseason. This was like 8-9 years ago. I remember this. Rex Ryan, still coaching the Jets, put Mark Sanchez, his starting quarterback, in a preseason game against the Giants with the entire backup offensive line, and he got hit a bunch and he got hurt, and they had to play Geno to start the regular season. Like, that's the stuff you want to avoid really badly. So I was thinking about that when we were talking about the Wilson thing, and I was like, okay, yeah, you definitely don't want to be that guy, because Rex Ryan got fired not too long after that. Yeah. But I wouldn't mind seeing Metcalf a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing Everett a little bit. Wouldn't mind seeing Damian Lewis and Gabe Jackson a little bit. That'd be all right.
See Eskridge get some chance out there if his toes feel all right.
I don't think Eskridge is going to be ready yet. I think that Eskridge.
It's too soon.
Yeah, it's a little too soon. I think the goal is to have him ready for the opener, which is not ideal. But I feel like he's not going to be playing until the opener. That would be
Brandon, is the whole sign Jarrell Casey thing still on the table, since we released Alden Smith. I've been having some thoughts about that since releasing Alden, about trying to get an extra pass rush. And I even went back to the whole possibilities of what if we could possibly reunite Geno Atkins with Carlos Dunlap from Cincinnati. I mean, which one would you prefer on those two if we were to do it? Just some thoughts.
I would say Jarrell Casey as well. But one thing I will say about that is I feel like our Alden Smith replacement is Kimdichie, because before the Alden Smith thing, I thought that Kimdichie was going to end up on the practice squad. Now I don't. So I think we're kind of looking at it like that, where Kimdichie is going to take some of Alden Smith's snaps, and we're going to go from there, which I think is pretty reasonable if the Alden Smith hype is real, which we won't know for at least a month. But that would be my take on that. But Sam, to ask you the same question, do you want to see some of the starters in this preseason game real quick?
Not too much of them. Maybe a little bit of Gerald Everett, maybe some Metcalf, but I don't want to see too much because I don't want to risk injury. I've always been one of those guys to not risk it too soon. Maybe Russ will play one series, but
no.
Other than that, not too much of it. Not too much.
Yeah.
But
with
play,
no
I'll
Dwayne Brown. Yeah.
But
I can't put him out there and feel good about it until we get Dwayne Brown on the field. And I do think he's going to go ahead and suit up before the end of before the regular season starts, because he wants that money. But that's a whole nother conversation that we definitely can have, the Dwayne Brown situation. I get a lot of comments about it every day, but I can't put Wilson out there until Dwayne Brown's out there. That seems like a bad idea.
Personally, for me, I want to see Sean Mannion get more reps for the backup quarterback competition. I wouldn't mind seeing Mannion get a little more reps out there.
I feel like Magoo is clearly better than him. He's younger. He has more upside. He's young. There's something unknown about Magoo that I find to be really interesting. There's something we don't know what he is. I kind of feel like we have a pretty good idea of what Mannion is because he's been around a few years. So the only reason why we're probably going to see Mannion is because Geno got a concussion, and Geno's probably not going to play this week.
Yeah, probably not.
Thank God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Jose, other than some of the stuff you already talked about, are there any other areas on this team that you really want to evaluate this week?
Yeah, Sam brought it up. Corner.
Mm-hmm.
Corner. Do we need to bring in a veteran? Do we need to trade for CJ Henderson? Because Kello Witherspoon is looking bad at practice. Didn't look great last week. Trey Flowers is a dumpster fire. DJ Reed has a mysterious injury. Like, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah. I think the plan is, and this is an uncomfortable plan, don't get me wrong. I think the plan was always kind of, we're going to hope our pass rush can bail out the corners by playing at such a high level that the corners are fine. And that's dangerous because pass rushers can get hurt. Pass rushers can underachieve. But I do get the sense that that's the plan. And to a certain extent, the die is cast. There isn't exactly a ton of stuff you can do other than trade for CJ Henderson, who at this point may not even be back on the block. He might have been taken off. We don't know. But yeah, that's definitely a fair thing to consider as we go into this second preseason game. Anything you want to say other than that, Jose?
Do you mind if I plug my...
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Got that me, Seahawks, Jose Rodriguez. I do sports videos every other day, whether it be football, basketball, or baseball. I do it, and good to be out with two Seahawks legends. So, thanks for having me, guys.
All right. You have a good rest of your evening, Jose. See you later. All right. I'm going to pull on. This is Brian Olson.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you doing tonight?
I'm
What's
doing
up?
good. I'm all the way on the East Coast near Miami, so it's 10:30 at night here. But I did
Yeah.
want to bring up, I guess, the Dwayne Brown contract situation. He's 35. I mean, at what point do you say he's already hit his peak? We can't give him more money.
Well,
'Cause the guy's old, man. He's near the end of his career.
yeah, that's the dangerous part of this game. I really thought that he was going to retire this offseason and we weren't even going to have this discussion. I thought we were going to try to find some way to replace him with, maybe we thought Jamarco Jones was going to break out. Maybe there was going to be some guy in the draft we would have gotten if we thought Dwayne Brown was going to retire. But now that we're here, it's an awkward situation where no player wants to play on the last year of their deal if they're a good player because they don't have long-term security. Nobody wants to do that. If they have enough leverage through their ability to play at a high level, then they're going to try to utilize that leverage to get a longer-term deal. But the thing with Dwayne Brown is that he has very little to no trade value because he's old and because he already has a bit of a bad knee and everybody knows about it. He's on the injury report every week, even if we know he's going to play. So he doesn't have that kind of leverage where he can request a trade and expect a bunch of teams to line up to get him, because those teams would know that not only do we have to trade for him, we also will have to pay him. And I don't think any team in the league is going to want to do that. So we can just go, okay, if you don't want to play on the last year of your deal, then you just won't play at all. You're not going to make any money. You're due $11.5 million this year. Like, do you really want to say goodbye to that? And I think we feel like the answer to that question will be no. And that's probably going to be correct. And I get a lot of comments on my YouTube channel with people saying, well, are we just going to start Stone Forsythe? Is that the plan? And no, the plan is that Dwayne Brown gets over it and shows up and plays when the regular season starts because he wants to make $11.5 million, even without that long-term security. So the only way we actually extend him will be if he strongly indicates he would retire rather than play the last year of his deal. So we feel like that's not going to happen. So it's a gamble, but it is a calculated one, and I think it does make some sense.
Yeah, Stone needs a mentor at least. I was talking to Ray Robinson at the training camp, talking about how Dwayne could mentor Stone and teach him how to get down low, because Stone was getting beat quite a bit last week in that game against the Raiders, and on the play where Geno got cracked. But I was watching your other video earlier about when he started to show some flashes on the offensive line of him making him on some of his blocks. I really am going to be keeping an eye out for Stone this week against Denver, because I want to see some improvement from him. But I hope that we can have Dwayne Brown around, because we need someone to mentor Stone Forsythe so he can get used to it. But like you said, he's only a rookie, and let him learn. Just let him learn, like you were mentioning, from when he got beat a lot by some like these starters like Cleveland Farrell last week. So I'm hoping Stone is learning, so that way he can use it to get better in the future.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to highlight a comment I just got from Michael Santalonza, longtime commenter on my videos. We need Dwayne more than Dwayne needs us. That would be true if he's okay with retiring. That's possibly true. I think that's possibly true, but we can't know what Dwayne Brown is thinking. Is he really thinking, I really don't want to retire right now? Then that's not the case, because the only team he can play for is us, because nobody will trade for him. Nobody will pay him. At least I don't think so. Teams are not excited to pay a bunch of money to a 36-year-old offensive lineman. So it really depends on what's in his heart.
Retiring back on his Texans days before he was traded to Seattle?
I mean, that could have been a thing that he was just saying. I seriously doubt it. He hadn't made big money in the NFL yet. I mean, for these guys, this is the one chance they're going to get in their life to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Most of these guys are not thinking like, I can throw away tens of millions of dollars in the NFL because I can go make tens of millions of dollars in some other line of work. No, that's why I was saying that Jamal Adams is going to sign this contract eventually, because he's going to just say, no, I don't need the tens of millions of dollars that I would have gotten. So generally speaking, unless you're a quarterback, you don't have a lot of leverage over these other teams. You have to be, yeah. Usually, you're going to take the offer that the team gives you in the NFL. It seems like in other leagues, it's not so much the case, but in the NFL, every team is profitable. Every team sells out pretty much every home game they have. They can be financially successful even without you. So it's just really hard for a guy like a Dwayne Brown, who isn't even, a top 5 player in the league or anything, to do anything other than honor his deal and go from there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Sam, anything else you want to talk about where this team is right now and how you feel about where we're headed?
Just concerned, hoping that the secondary can get better, because I think that we're going to have a long year with the secondary again. But I'm hoping the offensive line is going to be okay going into this season. We definitely need Dwayne Brown, but we all know he's getting up there in age, and we're going to have to start hitting on some draft picks, going and making it our main focus on the offensive line in these next couple of years. But also, why is Austin Ryder still a free agent, man? I can't believe nobody signed him yet.
Yeah. At this point, and this is why I'm starting to wonder if we even want him, I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's something wrong with him. Like that's what happened with Mitchell Schwartz. I wanted Mitchell Schwartz, and then no one signed him, and I was like, what's wrong with him? And there's a lot wrong with him. He can't bend his back. He's got no ability to play football right now. He would be completely useless right now because his back is all messed up. So there might be something like that going on with Austin Ryder. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I think I'm going to get ready to jet. And Brendan, thank you for having me on again. Hopefully, if you're up to it again soon this coming season, let me know if you're up for some previews on my channel for some of the games, if you're up to it. And if not, I understand. It's all good. I just appreciate the fact that we're on here again, and keep doing what you're doing, man. I tune in every time you drop a video on certain news that's going down with the Hawks. I appreciate that, man.
All right, no problem. See you later, man.
See you later.
All right, I'm going to bring on Washi, and that is not him in the picture. That's just him having fun. I know that for a fact. But Washi, you are on.
Hey, what's up?
How are you doing, man? You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just watched the Patriots decimate the Eagles in the preseason. So getting back in that football mood. So, Brian, so we talked about the Dwayne Brown thing. That's maybe the most interesting thing with this team right now. What are you looking for on the field against the Broncos? What's the most interesting thing to you?
I think the number one thing is the cornerback battle. I mean, we have about 4 different guys that can vie for the number one cornerback spot here. It's not solid. I don't really trust any of these guys to be our lockdown corner, and we're used to Richard Sherman locking down one side of the field. So I think it's going to be a battle the entire year long. Whoever's hot is playing.
Yeah, I think DJ Reed has a starting spot pretty secured because I think he's good, and I think he's proven himself in actual meaningful games enough to where I feel very confident saying that it's going to be him. But it's really hard to have a lot of confidence in anybody else. And I'm an Ahkello Witherspoon fan. After looking into him a little bit and thinking about his fit, I am a fan of Ahkello Witherspoon, and I'm a fan of what I think he can potentially do in this defense. But at the same time, I understand that he also had some very, very bad moments. He had pretty wild swings from good to bad when he was in Frisco. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't think Trey Brown's ready yet to start. I think he might be ready to play some. I don't think he's ready to start.
But anything you said about, Ahkello Witherspoon, you could say for Trey Flowers. At points, he looked locked down. At other points, he was a total liability. So,
yeah, that's definitely fair. I think I guess it's just because I've seen every game that Trey Flowers has played in the NFL so far. I've seen every play pretty much.
Yeah.
So I've seen all I need to see of Trey Flowers to feel like he's probably just not good, unfortunately. I feel I feel like he's probably not good. Witherspoon may be just as inconsistent, but at least I haven't seen it. So there's probably a little bit of bias there just because of what I'm familiar with versus what I'm not personally familiar with. But yeah, and then there are guys like Pierre Desir and Randall, who I don't even know if they're going to make the team, and I don't know if we can expect anything from them, but they were brought in here for some reason. Yeah. Okay, so Washi, what about you? What are you looking for this week against Denver, preseason week 2?
I just want to see if like the young guys, like the rookies, are like flashing, and like the pass rush, the depth, and all this stuff. Because the one thing that we were talking about like a lot during this offseason was like the depth in the pass rush is like really good, and then I just want to see if the depth is actually what we've been talking about is actually can live up to the hype, and then from there we'll know like if this pass rush is legit, like who we got to cut. Rasheem Green is one guy that I look to see if he flashes a lot. I heard he flashed a lot in the last preseason game, so
He did.
hopefully he keeps
did.
it up. Hopefully, yeah. And then Alton Robinson flashed a lot last season, and hopefully we can give him more snaps. And I can honestly see him becoming some sort of like Pro Bowl player.
Alton was probably the MVP of game 1 for the Seahawks, I think. He was probably our best player. I really liked what I saw from him. So I agree with that. I think all these guys that we're talking about, like Rasheem Green and LJ Collier and Kim Dichie, kind of got bailed out by Alden Smith getting cut. I think they're all going to make the 53-man roster because there's just a little bit of a hole from the Alden Smith thing. So I don't think any of them are necessarily playing for their jobs, but obviously they're playing for playing time. Like Collier may not have much playing time this year if he continues to not show anything, which so far this preseason he hasn't.
Right.
Okay, so Brian, we have this new Shane Waldron offense, right? We got this new coordinator. He's bringing in his new stuff. And in the first preseason game, I don't think we played a single starter that whole game. We might have played one. And I don't think he played very much. It might have been Gabe Jackson. I'm not 100% sure. I actually don't think he played, but I'm not 100% sure on that. With 2 preseason games left, how would you balance getting this new offense a little bit of game experience and not playing your starters a bunch? How would you balance that?
I mean, as a team, we are very top heavy. So, like, if DK or Lockett goes down, we have a problem at receiver. If Everett goes down, we have a problem at tight end. Same thing, offensive line. If Russ goes down, we might as well just, give up on the whole entire season.
Yeah.
So
that's the case for every team in the league pretty much, though. Their quarterback, forget about it.
I don't necessarily want those guys playing a long time. I feel like through training camp, they've gotten a handle of the system enough to get through the first couple weeks. I mean, we're facing Indy potentially without Carson Wentz. That should be an easy layup.
Yeah, that's the word that I use to describe this Indy game with no Winston, no Nelson, a layup. And I had some people kind of be unhappy with me about that, but you miss layups sometimes. People miss layups all the time. I mean, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed win, and you do have to take it seriously and all that, but it's, sometimes players miss their layups. It does happen. So I like the use of that word. I think that's a great word to describe a game like Indy with no QB and not their best offensive lineman. But I'm really conflicted on that too, because I'm very much aware of the fact our offense will probably not be that good this year because it's a new scheme. And I know a little bit of preseason action can mitigate that, but I also know that it could mess up your entire season. Because
we have to learn very quick, because it might be a layup week 1. Week 2, we have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones coming at us. And as you've discussed, corner is kind of a question mark.
Right.
So I'll be in Seattle for that game. I want to see us win in Seattle. So
yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a game where you need the offense to do something because Tennessee had an atrocious defense last year. It should be a little better this year because they got but who did they get? Bud Dupree, and they drafted Robinson, the cornerback, I think.
Yeah.
So they should be a little better this year, but they're still probably not going to be very good. I think there are some systemic flaws in the Mike Vrabel defense. So yeah, I agree with I can agree with pretty much all of that, but I just remember the first year of the Packers under Mike LaFleur, or was it? Yeah, the LaFleur, whichever LaFleur brother it was. It was not a very good offense at all. Aaron Rodgers did not play that well that year. They got bailed out because they did really well in close games and they had a good defense. But the offense was not very good. And then the next year, it was maybe the best offense in the league because it was a new system, new scheme, new play calling, new everything, even though it was all the same players for the most part. They needed that year. And I'm aware that it could take a year for this offense too. It's possible. And that's not fun to think about. But I'm also aware of the fact that a little bit of preseason action could help them. So that's one of the things that I'm really debating in my mind over.
I just don't think the preseason action Russ and the starters would see lifts them above, whatever Aaron had seen in that first year in the LaFleur offense. I think Russ is on that same level as Rodgers. So I would expect that same level of Russ has got to come in the clutch games and win,
Right. And that's reasonable to expect. That's definitely reasonable to expect. We've had plenty of games over the years where the offense didn't do much of anything, and then we came up with some 2-minute drive to win it at the end. That happens all the time. Washi, what about you? Where are you with this offense right now, and do you want to see much of it, if any of it, in this preseason for these last 2 games?
I would be all right with showing like a little bit during the preseason, but I'd rather not because here's the thing. So into 2019 when Aaron Rodgers was like not that great, I know that it's kind of like a new system and all, but I kind of blame part of it on just like Aaron Rodgers play himself. So and I don't think Russell Wilson will be like Aaron Rodgers. Like Russell Wilson's been consistent like all seasons. He's played good all seasons. He's not like Aaron Rodgers has like down years and up years. So I think like it'll be the first like 5 weeks maybe the offense is like but I think like by the last 5 games of the season we'll be like top 5, top 3 hitting on all cylinders if Waldron is the real deal. We don't know that yet, but from the looks of it, it seems like that. But no, I wouldn't really want to show too much of it during preseason.
Yeah, there's definitely something about holding stuff back. Last year, when the offense was struggling in the second half of the season, some people were saying we're hiding all of our good plays for the playoffs, and that clearly was not the case.
I will also add, Rodgers, not last year, but the previous year, when it was the down year, quote unquote, he was quick to throw the ball away and sort of give up on a play. I don't think that's in any of Russell Wilson's DNA. I think that's
a very good point. Rodgers has always been a guy who will throw the ball away if he thinks there's any chance of a turnover or any chance of a negative play. So there's definitely something there. I can get behind that. I can definitely get behind that. I firmly believe that it would be a very bad idea to put Wilson out there without Dwayne Brown. So I kind of feel like if Dwayne Brown's not playing, then it's kind of a non-starter. But at the same time, it does make me a little uncomfortable that we have this brand new offense and we're going to have very, very little in-game experience with it going into the first few games. So, Brian, anything else you want to say about where this team is headed right now and what's coming up?
It's kind of a hypothetical before you cut me off here, but apparently KJ's trying out for us again now after being top 100 player. How do you fit Jordan Brooks and KJ Wright into a defense in 2021? Like you don't play 3 linebackers and Bobby Wagner is going to play every snap.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you just don't. And I see a lot. I mean, I'm on some Seahawks Facebook groups, and I see people saying we need to bring back KJ. We need KJ. I feel like if we bring him back, he's not going to play, and I don't see how that's good either. Bringing back a player just to sit on the bench and play in garbage time and play if somebody gets hurt. I think the play is you let KJ just sit in free agency, and if you get an injury, if Wagner gets hurt, if Brooks gets hurt, then you can go get him. Or if somebody else gets hurt somewhere else in the NFL, then he gets a job. But unfortunately for KJ, what he's good at is not very valuable anymore. He's like KJ writes kind of like a writer for a newspaper. Like nobody buys newspapers anymore. So being a good newspaper writer is not very valuable anymore. So even though he's very good at it, he can't find a job. So I feel bad for him because he had a great year last year, and in a vacuum, he deserves to get paid. But I think it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
So a couple people in chat are saying the KJ article is fake. Apparently, it was tweeted out by a fake Brady Henderson account or something, which people do that on Twitter sometimes. I'm pretty familiar with that. But I will say I think that getting KJ back is a possibility if and only if somebody gets hurt.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, he knows this defense as well as anybody, so there would be no concern about bringing him on and having him needing to play a couple days later. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Brian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Brendan. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good
All
one.
right. Yeah, you as well. Okay, so I believe this is. Oh, I know who this is. This is Ethan's Tech World. Welcome to the stream, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
Not a whole heck of a lot tonight, man. One preseason game on, checking it out, scoping out the Eagles and Patriots. But other than that, just working myself back into football shape, I guess.
Of course.
So, what do you think about where this team is right now? One preseason game down, 2 to go. What's your feel?
I'm still excited. I'm not freaking out over a preseason game or anything like that, where basically none of the starters are there, and we're obviously talking about the corners when it comes to that preseason game, and I just don't think we've really seen much, like in terms of what Carroll wants the corners to do. Like I think he just wanted them to be there and not let anything go to a deep touchdown or whatever like that. and obviously it'll be better once we have the starters for the pass rush there, in addition to how Alton Robinson played, which was great.
Yeah,
so, I don't know. I want to give it another preseason game or two.
Yeah, a lot of those completions were very quick passes. There was a lot of very quick stuff going on, which, I mean, you need to be able to stop that stuff sometimes, but you also understand that you're not going to stop it a high percentage of the time. It's just something that you, to a certain extent, do give up. We didn't have Dunlap. We didn't have Puna. We didn't have Kerry Hyder. We didn't have. I think those are the main 3 guys that we didn't have on the defensive line, but those are 3 guys that we expect to be big contributors this year, for sure. So Washi, I'm going to go back to you. The Jamal Adams extension freed up about $5 million this year in cap space. So by my calculations, we were pretty close to capped out this year. Now we're definitely not. So how would you use that $5 million? Would you try to let it roll over into next year, or would you use it now?
Wait, we have 8 million cap space, right?
I would roughly calculate 8 to 10 million. But
okay.
I can't be 100% sure because we're going to cut players too, and we don't 100% know who we're going to cut, and we don't know how those cuts are going to save money. But I would say we have enough money to bring in another player if we really wanted to.
Right. All right. So I know this really doesn't have anything to do with the cap space, but I would like to trade for CJ Henderson, but but I know he doesn't really cost much. So with the cap space, have, yeah. Wait, continue.
Well, I want to say I get people in my comments and chat sometimes talking about Sherman They're talking about other free agent cornerbacks who are still out there. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Give me Henderson 100 times out of 100 over any of those guys. Those guys are past their prime. They're cheap for a reason. They're available for a reason. And the reason is always they're old, they're injury prone, they're not that good anymore, da-da-da. It's one of those. CJ Henderson might be available because Jacksonville fired their entire front office and the new guys aren't enamored with the guy who the last regime drafted. When a guy becomes available for that reason, you want to jump on that. Those are the opportunities that a good organization can use to take advantage of a weaker organization that is going through a bad time.
Yeah, and he's like young, like bro. He has like 5 more years on the deal, so we don't have to worry about money in a long time. And also, he has a lot of potential to be a good corner. But like to be honest, in the free agency, like all the players that are left right now, other than like Sherman and maybe KJ, there aren't really anyone that's like expensive. So like the extra cap isn't really like that useful. The only way I can see it being useful is if like we figure out there's some sort of like hole in the team, and then we're like near the trade deadline, and then mid-season we're like panicking about something, and then we need to go trade for some sort of expensive player, you know. And that's the only way I think that's the only reason why the extra cap is needed. But other than that, like right now, most of the people that I'd actually want are like pretty cheap. So like maybe like Austin Ryder or something like was D.D. Westbrook signed?
Yeah, D.D. Westbrook went to Minnesota. I remember that. But you're right. I mean, the cap space helps if you want to sign multiple pieces. Like let's say you want to sign Sherman and Ryder, or Sherman and Russell Okung, or something like that. Then it could matter.
Right. Yeah. There's no one that.
Yeah.
There's no one that's expensive, you know. So.
Yeah.
And Sherman, I really wouldn't want to get Sherman because
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, I don't really think. I feel like he'd probably be wanted to pay like 7-8 million, and it'd probably be a 1-year deal. And I don't think it's worth it. And this is like my opinion. I know a lot of people would disagree with me for this, but I can see like if the pass rush is like top 7. The linebacking core is like average, and then we have like top 3 safety play, and then we have top 20 like corner play or top 25 corner play. I can see this defense being top 10 with just those like metrics, you know. And with the scheme specifically, since we're not like such a man-on-man type scheme, I don't really see like corner being like insanely important. So I would be fine as long as we have like a top 20 like corner group with like a good amount of depth, which we do have. I'm not sure about top 20, maybe top 25, but yeah, honestly, I don't think corner's not that big of a deal.
Yes, it's on the defensive coaching staff to utilize the talent they have in the best way possible. If the corners are your weakness, but you have a lot of strengths on the line, at linebacker, and at safety, it's your job to minimize the effect of the corners and maximize the effect of everybody else. So it's on them to figure it out, and I'm sure they have some understanding of that.
Yeah.
Ethan, I'll go back to you. So we've got 2 preseason games left, and we haven't seen a single offensive starter so far, I don't think. Who do you want to see play this week at against Denver?
In terms of starters?
Yeah, because we haven't seen any in the preseason yet. Like who intrigues you?
I don't know if I want to see any starters. However, one thing that I don't know if anyone's mentioned, the preseason is also a time for Waldron because he hasn't called any plays before.
Right.
So this is an important thing for him. And in the first game, I could see what he was trying to do. Sure, like the backup quarterbacks and stuff weren't very accurate, but I could see the side-to-side routes. I could see the short, quick passes. And just imagine that with the starters and Russell Wilson doing that. It's going to be so much better.
Right. And that's valuable too. My concern would just be the players that we have who are actually getting familiar with that system. If it's just the backups, then that's only worth so much. Like I keep using the LaFleur comparison, and it's not the only comparison that should be used in this instance. But It was mostly the same players. Green Bay brought back mostly the same offense, and their offense was not very good. And then the next year, it was probably the best in football. So, it's there is definitely something to be said for getting the actual offensive starters
Right.
on.
I mean,
but
it would just need to be very limited, in my opinion.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like 3 series in a preseason game is not going to help you that much, I suppose. Like compared to the work you're putting in training camp, compared to the work you're putting in practice, that's going to be a lot more meaningful. But I think there's something to be said for an actual game against another team where you're not familiar with exactly how they play. Like, just an example, I remember Stone Forsythe saying after his first preseason game that, I'm used to in practice, I know exactly who I'm going to be going against, and I have some idea of their moves. I have some idea of what they do. I know fundamentally how to block those guys because I practice against them a lot. When it came to the Raiders, I didn't know who I was going to go against because I didn't know who they were going to play. So therefore, it was a lot harder for me. And there is something to be said for that. But yeah, you're right. It's this balancing act that is really hard to manage. And
you
I
can't
don't
really
know
have
what
it
the
both
answer is.
ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Washi, anything else you want to go over Seahawks related? Anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah. But so I got like 2 things, right? So first of all, I as like Seahawks fans, I don't really think we talk enough about like where we see the other teams in the division, like how good they're going to be, not like record and who's going to be like first in division, but I mean like how good each team will be and how the potential and the players and stuff. We don't really go too in depth of that. So I think that's something that we should discuss more often. And then oh yeah, also, well, for the free agent signings, I saw like in chat, uh, Green Earth mentioning Golden Tate. I mean, no, Brendan Conant, mentioning Golden Tate. I think that's someone that we should also sign if like D. Eskridge isn't good or he doesn't really play too much. I could see us signing him.
Yeah. I like Golden Tate's game. It's very unique as far as wide receivers across the NFL go. So I could get that. I also know that there's probably some bad blood there that may make that impossible. We don't know the full story there. I've heard a lot of different things about whether or not Golden Tate actually has beef with Wilson or not. We don't know. But that actually is something that intrigues me. As for the rest of the division, I mean, we obviously play in a very competitive division. And we're kind of in the unfortunate situation of having all 4 teams in the division are all in right now. Like if you're the Seahawks, you're all in right now because this is the prove it or shut up year for Wilson. If you're the Rams, it's a prove it or shut up year because you just traded everything for Stafford. For the Niners, because they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago and they probably feel like they would have been close to there again, if not there again, if not for injuries. And the Cardinals, they might lose everything if this year doesn't go well for them. They might fire their coach. They might, Kyler Murray apparently might go play baseball. Like everything rides on this season for pretty much everybody in this division. Maybe not the Niners because they got Trey Lance and he's going to be their guy for a long time. But every team in this division is going all out and no other division in the football, I think, is doing that.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
One thing I just got to say is like, I mean, like 2 things. So first of all, I don't think the Cardinals, they're just too overhyped. Like I don't honestly see them going really anywhere. Like maybe like 10-7 or like 7-10. I think they might make the playoffs. I doubt it. They're just too overhyped. And then for like the QBs in the division, I think Stafford will be good, but I see him being good. Like the Rams are in a very similar situation as us, and this like their QB is being introduced into an offense he's not very familiar with. So I could see Stafford, the whole like, Rams offense, being good in like the end of the season, kind of like us, like Green Bay, similar situation. And then I kind of think the Rams, like their offense, people aren't mentioning their like O line. They lost a lot of people in the O line. I don't really see their O line being very good. So just a couple things that I just want to mention. So yeah.
All right, Washi. Thank you for calling in tonight. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I got some other guys to get in here. Appreciate it as always.
All right, thanks. Bye.
See you around the channel. Okay, this is Rye Guy. I definitely know who this is. He's been around for a while. What's up, man?
Not much, just chilling. I turned off the mic because I just didn't want to go on camera. So yeah.
All right, that's no problem. That's no problem. So one preseason game down, 2 to go.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about where this team is right now?
I think I'm a little bit more calm because I know that some people are kind of panicking over we lost to the Raiders and they're not supposed to be good this year, and they're not. But I also know that it's the preseason, and I'd say about half of these guys are probably not suiting up for us week 1.
You would certainly hope not, right? You would certainly hope that, just as an example, you would certainly hope that Jake Currahan is not starting at right tackle for the regular season.
And also,
you would certainly hope that Carlos Dunlap and Kerry Hyder are playing, etc.
Good. And I am a bit wary about Dwayne Brown because that one he could pull out or hold out for the entire year.
Yeah, it depends on how much that $11.5 million means to him, and it's really hard for us to know because we don't know him personally.
Yeah.
Because I believe, and other people do too, that when this team says we're not going to extend you right now, that we're not going to. There are some people who thought that, we were just saying that until after Jamal got done, and then we were going to take care of Dwayne. But I don't agree with that. I think that we said we are not going to extend Dwayne Brown right now, and we meant it, and we're not going to come off that. So either he effectively retires or he plays the last year of his deal.
Yeah, I think we don't want a Le'Veon Bell situation. I don't know if Dwayne Brown is that stupid like Le'Veon Bell did.
Yeah. Well, Le'Veon Bell threw away his prime for that. Threw away his best earning opportunity to do that. Dwayne Brown has already made a lot of money. It's a little different, but it's very clear that Dwayne Brown still wants to play football.
Yeah, and of course there's the injury things, but that's pretty true with every player. Like you could get injured like getting out of the bed.
Yeah. All right. So Ethan, with the newfound cap space from the Jamal Adams contract, freeing up about $5 million this year, plus the few million we already had, would you be looking to do anything with that money right now?
Yes, and I think it's a beautiful contract. I think it's really well done.
Yes.
So with the added money that we have, I don't know if there's anybody right now, and just like it's sort of a risk to say we're relying on our pass rush to kind of bail out, quote unquote, bail out our corners. I think it could also be a risk in saying, well, there's nobody right now that we should add with our available cap space, which we should use.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something like, wait, who's the Henderson guy?
CJ Henderson.
CJ Henderson. He's the cornerback.
Okay.
Cornerback,
did we see that guy coming up in our discussions a month ago?
Well, he wasn't on the trade block until about 2 weeks ago,
right?
And we don't even know if he's still there. I would never have assumed that CJ Henderson was available. He had a pretty okay year for the worst team in the league, and he's very young and very cheap. You would never assume a guy like that's available.
Exactly.
Well,
I think it's going to be like that a few weeks into the season where there's going to be somebody that we don't expect from a team that isn't doing well.
Like I don't think we expected Jamal to be traded. But
at least people were talking about that. I remember in the months leading up, everybody knew Jamal wanted out. So I wasn't shocked.
Yeah, so I think it's risky, but I think you can save some of that for a few weeks into the season. Like a team is like 1-5 or whatever, 1-4, and they're not doing well, and they decide to cut some people or trade some people.
Yeah, that's
From
what
the
we did
tank.
last year with Dunlap. I mean, the Bengals
Mhm.
basically gave us Dunlap for free. And he's clearly already proven his value well beyond what we gave up to get him.
Yeah.
That's definitely something you can do for sure. The issue could be that by the time you get there, you might already have a few losses that you couldn't afford to have.
Mhm.
Like if we
Giants
play the
game?
40, yeah,
That
if
was
we
a
play
lot.
if we play like the 49ers this year, I think we play them week 3 or week 4. And if they're starting Jimmy Garoppolo, that's going to be a game I fully expect to win. And if you lose that game, then you're like, well, that's going to be one that's tough to get back because it's in the division and the Niners might have a much better quarterback playing the next time. So, yeah, that is definitely a viable strategy, though. And I think most good teams should be looking to make trade deadline steals every year.
Mhm.
Right.
All
Okay,
right.
what-
So, Rye Guy,
Yep.
we didn't see any starters play against the Raiders on offense.
And I think
Would
that's
you like to see some of them this week against Denver?
depends. Obviously, I don't want to see Wilson in because Geno Smith got lit up in I think the first or second drive, and he was
Mhm.
out for the game. And obviously, we don't want that to happen to our $35 million man per year.
Absolutely.
I think maybe some of the younger guys that could, like,
Mhm.
like maybe. I think it depends on who. I think it might.
Yeah,
be
it's so hard to know, right? It's so hard to balance this. I mean, that's one of the things that's so stressful about the preseason. If you get a star player hurt in the regular season, then at least you can say, well, we couldn't have done anything differently. Of course, we're going to play him. He's our star player.
Mhm.
But if he gets hurt in the a preseason, then you can definitely have that what if argument. But I would like to see Damian Lewis and Gabe Jackson get some snaps to see how they're integrating with the new offense.
Mhm.
Metcalf would be nice too. Everett would be nice too.
Yeah, Metcalf maybe for a drive or two.
Yeah, I could
Although
get behind
he is younger, so that does help.
that. Yeah, and at a certain point, you do need to have some trust that your players can stay healthy for a few drives. Like these guys are going to be playing 100+ drives this year.
Yeah.
You got to hope that they can. You got to hope that they can stay out there for a few drives in the preseason. Okay, Ethan's Tech World. Anything else you want to talk about Seahawks related? Anything else you want to bring up?
I don't know. I just think give it another preseason game or two and see how things go. It was one game. Yeah, it was ugly, but it was one game. Maybe there's something. I don't think so. I'd like to see Eskridge maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Eskridge would be great. I don't think he's going to be ready this week. Maybe he'll be ready for the Chargers.
Sure.
But I feel like, and this is just kind of a feeling based off what I'm hearing, the plan is to have him ready for week 1 against Indy, which is dangerous in and of itself. But I get the sense that he's still a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would be a guy who's great to see. He would be a guy who's great to start to evaluate.
Oh yeah, and Kemdichi. That's the other one.
Yeah. Kemdichi's, I mean, that's defense, but that's a big one too. And he's definitely like a good example of like something you found accidentally. When we went into this offseason, nobody was saying, oh, we should really get that Kemdichi guy. He could be a valuable piece. And when we signed him, I don't think anybody was saying like, oh, this guy's going to end up being a valuable rotational player for us.
And he did.
Yeah. And so far, so good. We haven't seen him in any games yet, but so far, so good. All right, Ethan, thanks for coming out tonight, my man.
Thank you.
In.
Maybe if I don't know, a month from now, if the Mariners are doing anything still, we can about that.
We'll definitely do some Mariner stuff at some point if we're continuing to play
today.
well.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well,
see you. Thank you for
see you later,
me.
man. No problem. All right. This is TJ. I know I've had him on before. TJ, welcome.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
All right. So, what's your feeling, man? We're one game down, 2 games to go. What's your feeling about where this team is right now and where we're headed?
I feel pretty good.
Yeah. What are you interested in seeing against Denver this week? What do you want to see in a couple days?
I honestly want to see who I honestly don't believe Gino is going to be our backup this year. So I really want to see between Alex and
Magoo?
like Alex Magoo and
Mannion.
Mannion.
Like
I
the old
honestly
OSU quarterback.
like one of them is going to be our backup this year, and I really want to see which one's going to do it.
Yeah, I think that at a certain point, Gino's veteran experience doesn't count for very much. At a certain point, Magoo gets competent enough at the position to where you'd rather have his upside. And we might be there with Magoo at this point because at the end of the day, I understand that we trust Gino more to handle like a basic handoff.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if Wilson misses a drive and we just want Gino to go out there and hand the ball off 3 times and punt the ball and get off the field, then we can trust Gino to do that. Magoo, before this year, maybe we were like, he doesn't have a lot of experience. He can fumble. He can do all this stuff that we don't want him to do and really ruin a game. But I think like we're at the point now where we can trust him to at least hand the ball off a few times.
Yeah. He had some good plays.
Yeah. I liked what I saw from him against the Raiders. And and remember, we didn't have a very good offensive line. We had Forsyth out there and he got beat up a bit. Curhan was getting beat up at the start. They got better, but it was not the dream situation for him either.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ryguy, we've got a little bit of cap space, and I often like to say that if you're going to go all in, you need to go all the way in. You can't say we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year and then say, oh, we're scared to spend more money to bring in a better player. So if it were up to you, who would you bring in?
Well, I would probably try and work on Dwayne Brown first off. And if that doesn't work, then maybe we could try with, I know this is from a previous offense, maybe Okung for, I don't know if it's nostalgia or, because I know that he was with us.
Yeah, it's depth. It's a good consideration for depth. The issue would be, is he better than Cedric Ogbuehi or Jamarco Jones at this point? And that's hard to know. Now, not that this means a ton, but Carroll clearly likes Ogbuehi enough to feel like he could compete for a starting job. So,
because he did get lit up a couple times over last season.
Yeah, Carroll seems to feel like a big problem for Ogbuehi last year was we had no off season, and there's some validity to that for sure.
Yeah. No training camp, well, at least a very condensed training camp.
And no preseason, yeah. So I don't know if Okung is better than Cedric Ogbuehi at this point, but I do know that if Dwayne Brown does actually retire, then you might want a competent backup behind Ogbuehi, and that could come in the form of a Russell Okung. Yeah. So in that worst case scenario, I think it makes a lot of sense to go get somebody like that. Because I don't want the backup plan to be Tommy Champion.
Yeah, no one wants that. Yeah, I'm not really afraid of spending money to better the team.
Yeah,
you have to do it,
I don't think you can be unless you're not trying to win the Super Bowl right now. Like the Jets, the Bengals, the Jets. These teams, they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, so signing a player like that is not very valuable. Yeah. But to us, it could be.
Yeah, we're trying to win.
Okay, so TJ, how do you feel about where we are with this new offensive scheme right now with no starters playing in that first game? How do you feel about where we are right now?
I'm a little nervous, actually, because isn't this Shane's first team as an offensive coordinator?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the first time he's calling plays, I believe.
And if, like, our starters ain't out there, like, I understand, like, week 1 and 2, but, like, preseason 3, if our starters ain't out there for at least the fourth quarter, then I'm going to be a little bit, like, nervous because, like, they need to have at least some reps out there with the new offense.
But I'm sure they've done that in training camp.
Well, yeah, training camp's one thing, but when you're in an actual game, even though it's preseason, like...
Yeah, like I was saying, when you're in training camp, you know exactly who you're going to play against that day. because, like, if you're DK Metcalf, you're going to practice knowing I'm definitely going to play against Akella Witherspoon a bunch, and I know I'm going to play against, maybe Trey Flowers a bunch, because who else is going to guard me on the Seahawks? But if you're playing another team, especially in the preseason, you don't know who you're going up against.
Yeah,
Stone Forsythe was talking about how he didn't know who he was going to have to block in the Raiders game because he didn't know who the Raiders were going to play.
Yeah, and it showed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much film on a lot of these guys either.
Yeah. Film is a big consideration for sure. Okay, I want to highlight a comment here real quick. This is something that I see kind of echoed in multiple places in the chat. Take the money and use it to re-sign Diggs. Taking care of your own helps morale as well. Well, the thing with that is guys like Diggs and Dwayne Brown already have big cap hits this year. If you extend them, you would actually save more money this year because you could have stretched the cap hit out. So actually, if you're thinking about Dwayne Brown and Diggs, in a certain way, you would actually be better off letting that money roll over into next year so you could offer them more money next year, especially a guy like Diggs. But using your cap space on a guy like Dwayne Brown doesn't actually make a whole heck of a lot of sense because he's already due a cap hit of like $13 million this year. It's not going to get much higher than that. In fact, it's probably going to be a lot lower if you extend him. So just want to do a comment on that real quick. Okay, Rye Guy, anything else you want to say about this team, where we're headed, where we're going, where we've been?
I think that we should be patient, because we may struggle the first few weeks to get our offense figured out, but
I absolutely expect it, yeah.
The mid part of the season, I think that's the put up or shut up time for this offense. And we do play. Well, I think even then our schedule should get a little bit easier towards the middle. I think if I'm not mistaken.
It's not that bad of a schedule, and
last year was easier.
Yeah, last year was definitely easier, but we don't know how good these teams are going to be. We can make assumptions and guess all we want to, but we never would have guessed the 49ers were going to be that bad last year, but they were. We never would have guessed that. I don't know I don't think we would have guessed that the Bengals would have been the worst, or the Bengals would have been that bad until they lost Joe Burrow, but they were. I don't think we would have guessed that the Steelers would have started 11-0. We just don't know about this kind of stuff.
Or the Browns winning a playoff game. What a timeline.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have guessed that the Browns were going to be good last year. You just don't know with this kind of stuff.
It's uncertainty.
All right, Rye Guy, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. We got a couple other people to get on, so thank you for coming out tonight, man.
You have a good night, sir.
You too. All right, this is Green Earth. Green Earth, you're on. Welcome to the show.
What is up?
Not a whole heck of a lot, but we're moving right towards this season. So how do you feel about where we are right now with 2 preseason games left to play?
I'm feeling pretty good. When I'm looking at it, people are saying we need to bring in whatever wide receiver, like the wide receiver depth chart isn't looking that great right now. I really have to question people's faith in the team for us to develop talent, because we really don't think between Swain and Eskridge and, I don't know, even the UDFA that we brought in, I forgot his name exactly.
Cade Johnson.
Yeah. You have to have faith at some point, because if you do send one of these veterans to come in and pad the depth chart, you might be losing out on a lot of homegrown talent.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to be said for, for instance, Golden Tate. Just as an example, Golden Tate is a player who's already made a lot of money in the NFL. He's already got a ring. He's already done pretty much everything that he can reasonably expect to do in an NFL career for a player of his caliber. He's made a Pro Bowl. He might be happy with where he is. A guy like Cade Johnson is not going to be happy with where he is. He's going to be working very hard to make sure he gets somewhere. So I think there's something to be said for that. Last year we brought in Snacks, Damon Harrison, and he didn't last long. And maybe part of the reason was because he was at the end of his career and he wasn't going to put in the effort of a guy like a Brian Monet.
Yeah, I just saw someone in Brian Olsen say, what talent have we developed? Plenty of guys. Lockett is one of our own guys. Metcalf is one of our own guys. You know, it gave the team some credit for having wide receivers be good that they've developed.
Right. And I'm not a big Freddie Swain fan, but he wasn't bad last year. He did some impressive stuff for a 6th round pick with no offseason whatsoever to work with. So Freddie Swain might be better than Golden Tate at this point for this team. It's possible. It's hard to know for sure, but it's very possible. How many times do we see a big name go to a team and people get all excited like, oh, that's going to completely change that team, and they're washed up? It happens constantly. Oh, all right, cool. We got video.
Yeah, there you go. You can see my face, people in
All
chat.
right. Mm-hmm. All right, TJ, I'm going to go back to you for this one. So any other Seahawks-related topics that you would like to go over while we have some time to go over it? Anything else you want to talk about that interests you?
Yeah, one more thing about the re-signing. If I had to choose between Diggs and Brown, like me personally, I would rather re-sign Diggs, but team need-wise, Brown is like the necessity, because if we lose Diggs, it's not the end of the world because we still got like Blair that can play safety. Flowers can possibly move back to safety, but like I feel like Brown's gonna retire after this year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like 35. Like
I think he turns 36 before we play our first game, so he's almost 36.
Yeah, I feel like even if he did want to resign, he's only here for like one more season after this anyway. So there's really no point of re-signing him anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the doctors of this team will know better than we ever could on this kind of stuff, right? Because Dwayne Brown is an offensive lineman. We've seen offensive linemen play into their 40s and play effectively. I think Jason Peters, the Rams guy who finally got injured last year, I think Whitworth, he had been good for a very long time.
Yeah, with the Bengals.
Yeah. So I think that they would know better than us. So the fact that the team is saying we don't want to re-sign him right now might indicate that they suspect that he's not got much left. Like I saw it with Walter Jones. Walter Jones was really, really good one year, and then the next year he was one of the worst players in the league. So it happens very quickly, and it can happen when you're relatively young. Walter Jones was not that old when he became a really bad player. Real quick here, I'm going to highlight a comment here. Jonathan De La Cruz, thank you for the $2. Are the Rams more talented than the Seahawks? They're
certainly a better coach.
Yeah, they have probably a little more top end talent. I can say that it's pretty comparable, but they have the best defensive player in the league. They have probably the best cornerback in the league. They have, I don't know where Stafford ranks in terms of quarterbacks right now, but he's clearly good. They have one of the best 3 receiver groups in the league. Oh, okay. I think TJ just fell off there, but he might have been done anyway. I'm not sure. But the Rams are probably a little more talented than us if I had to guess right now, but talent's only part of the equation anyway. So to get into that too much would be kind of, All right. All right. So, okay, here we go. TJ, is that you?
Yeah, sorry, my phone was messing up for a second.
All right. Okay, Green Earth. Okay, so this Waldron offense, we saw a little bit of it on Saturday, but we didn't see any of the starters. Do you want to see any starters this week against Denver? And
yes, Metcalf specifically. He's gonna have to either reinvent himself or just be a complete outlier in this system in order to really be a part of it.
Yeah,
he's not exactly part of the quick pass anything.
Right. I will say that if we brought in Shane Waldron to turn Russell Wilson into Chad Pennington, that's a really bad idea. I'm sure there will be some deep passes in this offense. I'm sure there will be some, that we will be utilizing Wilson's greatest talent, which is probably his deep ball. We'll be doing it less, but we will still be doing it some, and I think Metcalf can excel there. But theoretically, Metcalf should be able to excel with a lot of things. He's big, he's strong, he can get open in short areas, he's quick. Yes, he has great downfield speed, but he has other skills too that should translate in pretty much any offensive system. He's a good blocker, so he should be able to figure this out. I think that he's talented enough to where the system shouldn't matter as much. This is not like somebody like Lockett, who is starting to lose some of his talent and needs the system to help him out. Metcalf should be able to overcome the system and be productive no matter what. But
it's just he's not a very dynamic runner. So that's kind of what he needs to be. Or at least to be more dynamic as a runner.
Yeah, he could be a better route runner, I think. I know he's getting better at it, but he's not the greatest route runner in the world, and that might be more important in this offense because there is a lot of just run down the field as fast as you can in Schottenheimer that won't necessarily be here as much. But yeah, okay, that's fair. I don't know how to balance the whole offensive preseason thing either, but it's going to be up to the coaching staff. And as much crap as I give this coaching staff and front office, I think they have some understanding of who they should be playing in the preseason and who they shouldn't be. And I also think they should understand that you can't play Wilson in the preseason with no Dwayne Brown. So hopefully we don't have to sweat that out.
Yeah. And I guess the only other starter I'd be remotely interested in seeing, and it might seem strange, but Jamal Adams. People are worried about like us getting diced on the short passing game. It's kind of just a natural thing if you're running the bear front or if you're running any sort of defense that's all in on the pass rush.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes you're going to get diced, but that's why you bring in this strong safety. You kind of need them to make that sort of all-in gamble work.
Yeah, this team has always gotten sliced up on short passes, even when we had the best defense in NFL history, maybe. It's always been like that, and it's not really a bug. It's a feature to a certain extent. We believed, and the years that we went to the Super Bowl, we were correct in thinking that most quarterbacks would eventually make a mistake. If we force a team to need 15 plays to drive down the field, they're going to make a mistake, and we're going to get off the field. And we're going to get the ball back to our offense. So there's always going to be that element of this defense that allows shorter stuff to go because they don't want to let the big stuff go. And they're waiting for the other team to make some kind of mistake. Now, we've lost some talent that makes that a little less effective, but that is the plan. And I don't think that's going to change right now.
Yeah. Like I said, this defense reminds me a lot of when I was a kid watching Virginia Tech games with my dad. It's all in gamble pretty much. It's break, don't bend. So
yeah,
we're going to go all in, and that can work. That can work. If that kind of almost wins you time of possession battles.
Okay, there are a couple people trying to get into the stream, but I'm absolutely not letting them in. So, yeah, let me clean up here real quick. Nice try, guys. I've fallen for your crap before. I'm not going to fall for it again. Okay.
Is Rasheem Green considered a starter?
I don't think he's going to start. I think he'll play a little bit, but I don't think he's a starter. He might lose his playing time if he doesn't do something good this preseason and training camp. And in fairness to him, he had a pretty good first preseason game. But I don't really think that Rasheem Green can be considered a starter. But TJ, anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Yeah, I'm actually excited for Green this year. Like, I honestly had so much hope for him last year before he got injured.
I did too. I have to admit that one.
I feel like this defensive line is the only position we have that you cannot fully make as a starter. Like every other position, we know who the starter would be, but the defensive line, we honestly don't know. We have so much talent we can honestly spread out in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we're going to bring in any free agent, it'd be a different one tech.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because apparently Monet lost weight. Brian Monet lost weight, and I'm like, I thought he was going to be our run stuffer along with Al Woods. How's he going to stuff the run if he lost 20 pounds? I was thinking about that, and then I started thinking about guys we could get, but then I think like stopping the run is not as important as it used to be in the NFL, so I don't want to sweat that too much. Okay, I'm not letting this person in either. You can go away.
Didn't we re-sign Al Woods?
Well, apparently Al Woods has been good in camp so far. I don't know why we gave him $3 million. I don't know why we couldn't have given him the veteran minimum. But that being said, we do need one run stuffer, and it seems like Puna is moving away from that role. So we decided to go get somebody who we thought could be good for us, who had been good for us in the past. So
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
We always overpay on something.
Yeah. All right. TJ, thank you for coming on tonight. I'm going to go ahead and let you go.
All right. Have a good night.
You too, my man. All right. There's another guy trying to get in, but I'm like 70% sure this is a troll, so I'm going to wait. I'm getting attacked by a bunch of different furries who I know are going to come on here and play videos of like furry porn because this has happened to me before. So yeah, if you're a furry troll, that okay, you too. Wow, I am getting bombarded by trolls right now, guys. You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes right now. You're out. But anyway, okay, I want to highlight a comment real quick. Taylor or Barton, they don't really have a lot in common. Taylor's a hybrid defensive end / outside linebacker, and Barton is more of a middle linebacker who can play a little outside in a general 4-3. So I don't think there's much of a comparison, but it's clearly Taylor. He's clearly more talented. He's clearly more of an interesting talent for this team. So I think he has a bigger role to play as well. So yeah, it would be Taylor. So Green Earth, anything else you're thinking about this team right now that you want to talk about?
No, I just really want to see Eskridge and Penny out there. I guess Eskridge would be the only other starter I want to see, but that's because he's a rookie.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I get the sense that Eskridge will not play until the regular season, which is not a great position to be in, but it is what it is. So I don't know. Like,
you take what you can get.
Yeah. The Penny thing, however, is very interesting to me because there is some room for him to contribute on the team this year, and Penny's not going to be on the team next year, almost certainly. There's almost no chance we bring him back after all this baggage that he has. So the question is, what can we get out of him in his final year, and can we get some return on that pick? So I know you're a bigger Penny fan than some people. I think that he's talented. I don't think he was right for this system, but or the old system, but maybe he'll be right for this system.
If he turns out pretty good this year, then I definitely want to find some way to bring him back, because I really think if you want to make this sort of offensive system to work, you need someone who's good in the zone run, and Carson really isn't that well at that. We could try getting someone else from out there, but you sort of need, if you're going to be running the system, someone like a Penny.
I mean, he's here. You may as well use him.
Yeah. There's a Naheem Hines contract coming up next year.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorites.
Naheem Hines. Yeah, that's possible because the Colts have a bunch of different running backs. They're not going to be able to keep all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick here. BBK ever going to grow beyond a special teams role? If I had to guess, no, but we haven't seen enough to be confident of that either way. But if I had to guess, I would say he's a special teamer. Zua Zerosa, if Penny performs way above expectations, would he have some midseason trade value? Oh, sure. If he performs really well.
Why?
But if he's performing well, why would you trade him? Because we're trying to win a Super Bowl right now. We're not trying to amass picks for next year. Like, if this season does not go well, it could all go away. It could be, we could lose Wilson, we could lose Carroll, we could lose Schneider, we could lose everything. So this year being good is really important. We don't want to lose any talent that we didn't have to.
Yeah, the most we're thinking about, like, the year after this is that this team proves itself enough to run it back again. And we do have the stuff to run it back again, but this group needs to show some spine.
Yeah, we need to make some kind of run. We need to be better than we've been since we've been over these last 6 years. I have a question that cannot be answered because it would take way too much research, but I want to know how many teams in NFL history have failed to make the NFC title or the conference championship game for 6 straight years and kept the same quarterback, coach, and GM together that whole time. I would guess it does not happen very often. You're going to make a change at some point. Yeah, Packers may have done it, but I would guess it does not happen that often. So if you take a look at us, Wilson has played every game we've had over the last 6 years. Carroll's coached every game. Schneider's been the GM the whole time. And we haven't made the conference championship game, and we're not changing any of those pieces out right now. So at a certain point, you do have to say you have to take that step, or else it is time to do something. And I don't know what that something will be, but it'll be one of those 3.
We did the thing by firing
Schottenheimer.
We did the thing by firing Schottenheimer.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll be enough, but you're still talking about the same big pieces involved. McCare asks, unbiased Niners or Seahawks when healthy with explanation. Well, I do think we're better than the Niners this year, honestly. The team that I'm mostly worried about is the Rams, mostly just because of Garoppolo. But if they start Trey Lance, then by 2022, you may have a real conversation there, I think, because I do think Trey Lance will probably be good. I don't know if he'll be good immediately, but he'll be good after a year. And
the Niners, their power were like a coin flip.
Mm-hmm. I do think that we're more talented. We're better than the Niners this year. That being said, the Niners do have a good amount of talent on that defense that is still kicking around. They still have Bosa. They still have Fred Warner. They still have I think they still have Jacquizz Tart.
Mm-hmm.
So
what is the player that y'all be watching that's on thin ice?
Mm-hmm.
The only one I can think of is, I guess, the entire cornerback position group. Like every single player on there is put on notice except for DJ Reed. But if this unit fails as spectacularly as it did last year, somebody's head is going to fall.
Yeah, because this is supposed to be Carroll's thing. This is supposed to be what Carroll is good at. For me, I would actually not say a corner because none of those guys are going to get cut except maybe Flowers. Even if Akello sucks the next 2 preseason games, he's not going to get cut because we don't save any money and there's no point. We might cut Flowers. We're not going to cut Trey Brown because duh. I mean, that would be beyond idiotic. But we could cut Flowers. But for me, the guy is actually LJ Collier because there's a lot of buzz around him not really impressing people so far. And I never would have guessed that he was a cut candidate this year, but apparently has a chance at not making the roster, which would be a disaster. So I would say him.
I thought he was referring to over the entire season year. But
yeah. If you're talking about over the year, then yeah, definitely the corners collectively, except for probably DJ Reed, because I think DJ Reed is probably good. But yeah, that's my main thing. Like, this is Carroll's wheelhouse. Carroll has built his career around finding good corner talent. So if he can't do it anymore, then there's really not a whole heck of a lot to say about him other than he's a guy who can get the team inspired to play in big games, but not necessarily always show up in the little games. That was a thing at USC, and it can be a thing here.
Yeah, I honestly would rather just fire the defensive coordinator at some point and Ken Norton Jr. and just bring in a guy to run the defense, have Waldron run the offense, and have Pete just sort of be the figurehead at some point.
Right. But the thing is, A big reason why Carroll was good for a few years there was his talent evaluation. He was legitimately pretty good at that. He brought in a lot of talented players, guys who other people did not value, like Sherman, like Wagner, like Wilson. There was something to be said for a lot of that. He was pretty good at that kind of stuff. And if that gets away from him, then you're losing a lot of what made him good. And there are a lot of things, a lot of areas that he holds you back in. And I've been talking about that before. And at a certain point, the trade-off that you're making is not really worth it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Greener, thank you for coming out tonight, my man. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. I will see you soon. And yeah, a couple weeks away from the season.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah, see you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we went about 100 minutes. I'll do a little bit of cleanup in the chat here real quick of a couple of comments, but before we wrap up here, I want to say thank you everybody for coming out. There are like 80 people in here right now. We had over 100 at one point. Please like the stream if you have not already liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content with some Mariners and, yes, Kraken content as well. You can also become a channel member. Click the join button down below. $2 or $5 a month gets you access to perks. And we also take donations in the form of Super Chat or PayPal. Links down below. And yeah, that's about it. So let's take a look at some of these comments here real quick. Any surprising players that might not make the roster? Collier, I guess, would be one. Flowers could be another. Homer. Maybe somebody like Jamarco Jones, but I feel like he's going to make it because he has some versatility. And that's all that there is off the top of my head. Does Pete allow a defensive coordinator to run his own defense, or do we stick to our cover three? We're going to run the cover three 100%. We are running the cover three as long as Pete Carroll's here, I have to believe. I cannot imagine Carroll ever allowing any non-cover three defense to be run. Well, there might be some variance to it, like what we do in the Bear front, but still. Let's see here. Posick could go. I don't think we have any centers who can replace him, so probably not. You doing Dead by Daylight later? Possibly. I'm not sure. I got to ask with the boys. Let's see here. Would you rather go out and get another cornerback or another center or any other position we might be lacking? Probably center. I think center might be a little more important than corner, but I could go either way and it would be fine. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, guys. Thank you for supporting the channel by showing up. Keep an eye out for more streams in the future, more videos in the future. We're close, guys. We're real close to this season starting. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream and get out of here. Thank you. Peace out. Go Hawks. More stuff to follow. If I'm probably going to stream a game after this stream, so you can jump in there and keep asking questions if you really want to. See you guys later. Go Hawks.